Okay po, so isang mapagpalang hapon po sa ating lahat. Nandito po ulit tayo sa ating ikalimang session ng ating Tutorial Thursday series brought to you by Santa Catalina Integrated National High School na pinangungunahan ng ating masipag na punong guro, Ginang Nenita B. Ivasco. Muli ang proyektong ito ay kaakibat ng ating paghahandang ginagawa sa ating Brigada Eskwela 2020 na may temang pagpapanatili ng bayanihan tungo sa kalidad na edukasyon para sa kabataan. Sa lahat po ng nanonood ngayon through YouTube Live, welcome po. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng nakapanood on July 30. Entitled How to Start a Business by Mrs. Nenita M. Directo. So marami tayong natutunan doon, nakuhang tips about business. Okay? So pwede niyo po ulit panoorin ito sa YouTube. Ang mga samut-saring palabas ni Sir RD. So kayo po ay mag-like, share, subscribe, and click the bell button for notifications. Okay po? So, ang objective po ng programang ito, okay, so yan yung first, present and impart educational topics that are timely, useful, and innovative for the viewers. Okay? And then, generate awareness about learning continuity in the new normal setup. And then the last one is to promote lifelong learning in these times of pandemic. So, marami po tayong new experiences ngayon pong pandemic na ito. Ano po? Okay. So, okay po, in behalf po ng aming masipag na principal, we welcome each one of you in our Thursday tutorial. So dahil po nagkaroon lang ng mga technical difficulties, medyo mahina po ang internet signal, so medyo nahihirapan po ngayon na mag-send ng mga videos. Ano po. So konting paalala lang po, habang nagdi-discuss po ang ating speaker, ay maaari kayong mag-comment sa ating YouTube live feed for your questions, comments, and clarifications. And once natapos na po ang presentation, ay isa-isa po yan sasagutin at i-address ng ating speaker. Reminder din po na pag magko-comment po tayo, ay greetings po siguro, pero wag na po tayo dong mag-chat. Palagay, alam ko naman pong miss na miss nyo ang isa't isa, ano po. So, gawin na lang po natin formal po yung comment nyo po doon sa chat box po natin, sa comment box. Okay po? So, indeed, today's session is very important for everyone. So, kung nung last session po ay nalaman natin na ang first step to start a business is to have a business plan. So, mahalaga talaga na you need to write it down and document it. Okay? So, ngayon pong hapong ito ay may kinalaman pa rin ang topic natin sa documentation, sa research. Ayan. So, kapag narinig natin yung research, parang ang hirap na agad, di ba? Kaya pag-aanin ito para sa atin, lalong-lalo na po sa ating mga mag-aaral. Okay. So, wini-welcome ko rin po yung mga students natin na nanonood, mga teachers po natin, and then kung may mga nasa ibang school din po, ibang kapamilya natin, friends. So, welcome po kayo sa Thursday tutorial namin. Okay, so, wag na po natin patagalin. Our topic for today is research for senior high school students. The Santa Catalina Integrated National High School Research Manual. So our speaker for today is a graduate of Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Mathematics, Master of Arts in Education, major in Mathematics, and she worked for 2 years as a call center agent in Convergys, Nuvali. And 3 years po siya as junior high school teacher in Gulod National High School in Cabuyao, Laguna. At present ay senior high school teacher at Santa Catalina Integrated National High School, no other than Ma'am Janeline Rosas K. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am.
Good afternoon po. Malinaw po ba ang aking dating?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am
Loud and
Joy?
clear.
Okay naman po. Sige, ma'am.
Okay po. Alright, isang magandang hapon po sa lahat ng ating mga viewers ngayon. Una sa lahat, nagpapasalamat ako na naka-tune in ngayon ang ating mga co-teachers as well as ang ating mga estudyante. I know that the internet connection is very much unstable this past few days. So having you here with me right now is a big opportunity, and I do hope I'll be able to impart my knowledge to you guys. Okay? So without further ado, let us start. Isang magandang hapon po. Muli ako si Dinang Jeneline Arque, and our topic for this afternoon is research for senior high school students. Now, I know this is specifically made for our senior high school students, but for our viewers today, which are my colleagues, my co-teachers, this will also be beneficial kasi sa panahon ngayon, importante na tayo ay nagpo-pursue ng ating studies, and the format of the topic for today is also somehow aligned with the approach of how research is done in the masteral level or college level and even in the dissertation level. Kasi yung process, it's just almost the same. So let's proceed. First question is, why must these senior high school students conduct researches? Bakit nga ba? Bakit ba kailangan gawin ito? First reason, guys, is because it is a three-subject requirement. With our curriculum in senior high school, there are three subjects that is covering this research. The first one is practical research one, which is our qualitative research. We will further discuss that later. Second is practical research two, that is our quantitative research. And then the third one is our 3 I's kung tawagin namin sa senior high. It stands for increase, investigations, and immersion. Okay? So, dun pa lang sa aspetong yun, I think that's enough motivation for the students to pursue research, because imagine those are three subjects. First one, which is practical research one, you will encounter that students with your grade 11 second sem. So, kung may mga viewers tayo dyan na mga grade 11 students, right now, wala pa kayong subject yan, but on the second semester, you will encounter practical research. And then, practical research 2, yan yung subject ngayon ng mga grade 12 students, that is first semester. And then yung 3 I's, that is grade 12, second semester naman kinukuha. Okay? Next, our second reason, bakit ba kailangan yung mag-undertake ng research classes, or why do you have to pursue this, is due to personal reasons. When you do research, you learn skills such as, first is working independently, scientifically, and systematically. Um, Usually, with college level and masteral level, researches are done independently. However, since we're just on the high school level, what we usually do is that students work in groups. At most, 6 members. That's 5 to 6 members in each group. Bakit sinabing independently? Because um, naging kultura na kasi ng mga bata yung kung sino yung leader, siya yung gumagawa, di ba? So, that's not a very good practice because what only happens in that situation is that uh, the leader continues to improve his or herself while the uh, members na follow lang, ganyan, nakikiambag lang, you don't really contribute much to the work, but rather, mas pinibigyan nyo ng opportunity yung ibang tao na mag-improve as compared to yourself. Alright? Next is scientifically and systematically. We call it scientifically and systematically because it is a process. You cannot go to step number 2 without undergoing through step number 1. Okay? So, it is a continuous process. Second is you will improve your skills such as your higher order thinking skills or what we call HOTS. Ano-ano ba yung mga skills na yon? First is inferring, evaluating, synthesizing, appreciating, applying, and creating. Those are higher order thinking skills that is very much important, lalo na kung kayo ay mag-pursue ng college. Aside from pursuing college, kailangan nyo din ng HOTS in everyday living. Ma'am, kapag ka sinagot ko kapag ba bumili ako sa tindahan, yan yung usual na philosophy ng mga bata ngayon. Pag bumili ba ako sa tindahan, magre-research pa ba ako bago ako, kailangan ko ba ang research bago ako bumili ng itlog o ng cartridge o ng without actually realizing it, you are doing the research. Paano? Sabi natin bibili ng tindahan, si Aling Nena nagtitinda ng patis for 7 pesos. Last time, bumili ka naman kay Aling Petra, ang bili mo lang ng patis is 6 pesos. So, in that case, you were able to gather information. That's one of the steps in doing a research. You were able to gather information. You weigh your data. Tiningnan mo, alin ba ang mas kapakinabangan sa akin? Is it the Aling Petra, which is 6 pesos, or Aling Nena, which is 7 pesos? And then you make a decision based on the data that you have gathered. Those are different situations wherein you have already applied your higher order thinking skills without really thinking na, ito evaluating ito, ito synthesizing ito, applying ito, ito creating ito. No, you don't do it that way. Kasi if you think of it in that manner, mako-consume ka na ay, hindi ko kaya yan. No. So, let's think research in a lighter perspective. That way, we could learn to accept it. Ano po? Third is, one of the skills that you are going to acquire as well when you do research is that you free yourself from the influence of a single source. Why? When you only base your ideas from a single source, isa lang ang pinakikinggan mo, you tend to be biased. Ano yung bias? Meron kang pinipilingan. Paano ka magkakaroon ng pinipilingan? Kasi nga, iisa lang yung source mo. Iisa lang yung pinagkukunan mo ng information. With research, you learn to look with different resources, references. That way, you could weigh your data or alamin mo alin ba yung mas tunog na tama. Alin ba yung sa tingin mo ay mas tama. That way, you could get better or make better decisions in life. Alright? The third reason is after doing it for yourself, after doing it for the sake of requirements, do it for your family and your community. Paano? I have here 2 videos. These are high school students as well, just like you guys. All right. They have conducted researches, and this is what the result. This is what they is the result of their researches. Kindly watch this.
Kita po talaga namin yung mga farmers namin na wala talagang pag-asa. Nakikita niyo po yung mga palay nila na nakakalat kung saan-saan, basta sira.
May mga modernized po tayong post-harvest facilities. Pero, of course, yung farmers, hindi po nila to kayang bilhin, hindi po nila to ma-access. I think yun pa rin po yung problem, yun pa rin po yung main reason kung bakit stagnant pa rin po yung technological facilities sa Philippine agriculture.
Ako po si Leah Denise Tan.
Ako po si Lester John Sabadaw.
At ako po, si Alpha Akain.
Gumawa po kami ng device para po sa pagtuyo at pag-store po ng ating mga palay. Hinahayaan po niya ang bawat butil na mag-receive po ng same temperature at humidity para po maayos ang ating drying and storing.
Ay yung mga maliliit lang po na farmers, yung maliliit lang po yung palayan, makakagamit po dun sa device namin. Ang tanging action para dun sa prototype namin is just one click of a button and the system goes on po. Then maghihintay na lang po sila.
Kung titignan natin ang history ng rice productions, the Philippines itself started the cultivation of rice. So it's very hard to see na kung sino pa yung nag-initiate, sila pang lacking sa mechanizations. What we wanted to do in the end was not only help these people, but we wanted to reform the future of farming.
Yung una pong sinabi ng teacher natin, sinanong niya po sa amin, what is the main goal of research? And that was to contribute to human knowledge. And that really inspired us and motivated us.
Hindi ko ba nakakatakot ang technology katulad ng iniisip ng iba. We need people to
Okay, seems like we're having a few technical difficulties. Subukan natin. Okay.
kung titignan natin ang history ng rice productions,
Yung una pong sinabi ng teacher namin, sinanong niya po sa amin, what is the main goal of research? And that was to contribute to human knowledge. And that really inspired us and motivated us.
hindi po ganun nakakatakot ang technology katulad ng iniisip ng iba. We need people to look into STEM courses more. We need people to see that science and research is really a vital part of making the community a better one po.
All right, so that is the first group of researchers na also high school students. This is the second one.
Several generations of my family have experienced death of a loved one because of diabetes. It is considered one of the top causes of death. Ako po si Maria Isabel Laison. My study is about the antioxidant activity and anti-diabetic properties of arachidonics. It is a locally available and often neglected plant. It's literally growing by the roadside. Another inspiration siguro po ng study ko, it's abundant and it's a sustainable source. This can lead to the production of drugs, and this can also be used as a functional food. Basically, it's just the fruit itself. So you could take in the fruit and acquire the antioxidant and anti-diabetic properties. You don't join research competitions just because you want to win. You have to see, if I join this competition, and after, you must have a goal. After this competition, I want to help this kind of population. My research won't end here. It will actually further develop into more specific compounds. We will delve into other diseases. This will help yung community in the future.
All right, so for those who are not familiar of the Gokong Wei Foundation, Gokong Wei po group of company, they own Jolly Food Corporation. That's just one of their businesses. Um, so these two groups of students, they did their research. What they have in mind was not only to get good grades or to just get the idea just to pass the subject, but rather they have this intrinsic motivation. They have their own motivation within themselves to do their research. And this is what I want the students to get na, because intrinsic motivation is a very strong source of drive in terms of achieving something. So when you do it for your family and your community, um, you build new knowledge about the topic, like what the kid have done regarding the Aratiles food. Who would have known that Aratiles, yung nakikita lang natin sa kalsada, ay may anti-diabetic properties pa lang. Eh, di ba, ang tamis-tamis nun. Technically, bawal lang matamis sa mga diabetic. However, she was not limited of that idea, but rather she did a research and discovered, built a new knowledge about this fruit, and then made it into something that is revolutionary na hindi pa nalalaman ng mga tao before. Next is solve existing problems of the community. The other video wherein the situation is that the farmers, they always have this problem na kapag ka bumagyo, yung mga palay ay nababasa, o kaya naman kapag maulan, hindi ka na makapagbilad ng palay. That is also a common problem in Mahayhay being a farming community, di ba? They were not limited with the idea as well na meron ng mga ganon na equipment. Actually, meron naman talagang ganong equipment. It's just that it is too expensive for the farmers to afford it. Di ba? Kasi usually, alam ko yung mga drying na, na for rice products na ganun, ay it takes a whole warehouse to be able to dry the palay. Pero what they did is that they are students from Cagayan, which is also a farming province. They built a smaller type of machine that could be utilized by the farmers. Small scale yung kanila. And they were able to solve an existing problem of the community. Third is to improve the quality of life. That is the ultimate goal naman po of research. It's not only about the bragging rights or the idea that we were able to come up with something, but rather it's to improve the quality of life. The situation earlier was the problem about rice production. And the second one is about diabetes, which is a known disease for here in the Philippines. So with those types of researches, they were able to somehow contribute in improving the quality of life. That is what I wanted to impart to the students. Do not be limited with the idea na, hindi ko kaya yan. Do not be limited with the idea, ito yung ginawa nila before. Ibahin ko ng konti para lang may project ako. Okay? So, those are the 3 reasons why you have to conduct your research. Alright? So, after you have known these, how do you get started with doing your research? I have here a quotation, sabi ni Henry Ford, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Pwede bang i-digest natin ng konti yun? Ikaw mismo sa sarili mo, if you think that you can do it, you're right, you can do it. But if you think you cannot, that already is your limitation. You already stop. Okay? So, with the idea of doing research, if you think that you cannot do it, you really can't do it. Parang kapag ito yung classic na example na binibigay ko sa mga estudyante ko. Kapag nanliligaw kayo ng babae, kapag nagtanong ka na pwede ba akong manligaw o kaya may chance ba ako, nagtanong ka, the chances is already 50-50. 50% na hindi pwede, 50% na hindi. Di ba? But rather, if you, kung hindi ka naman nagtanong, on the other hand, nagpakatorpe ka lang or hindi mo sinabi, di ba? That's 0 chances. Statistics and probability yan, class. Alright? And this is the idea of how humans process the information or the idea into in our brain. I always, as much as possible, insert this into my classes or into my presentations. I have here the illustration of the brain. We have parts. We have prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, the anterior cortex, and the amygdala. The important parts are the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. When something, when an idea is given unto you, or when a problem comes into your mind, unang pumapasok yan sa amygdala. And at the same time, the amygdala is the brain's emotional center. Okay? Bago pa i-process ng utak mo yung magiging solution, yung posible mong gawin, nandun muna siya sa emotional center. Ngayon, kung naisip mo kaagad, naging too emotional ka, naisip mo, hindi mo kaya, wala kang budget, you have these limitations, the idea will no longer be processed by the prefrontal cortex. So, nasa ng solution? Alright? So, dun siguro pumapasok yung idea na mind over matters. No. So, let us not be limited with our idea, with our emotions, but rather think of the possible solutions. Okay? So first, let us define what is research. By book definition, a research is a process of executing various mental acts for discovering, examining facts, and information to prove the accuracy or truthfulness of your claims or conclusions about the topic of your research. Ma'am, dyan pa lang sa definition ng research, bombarding na eh, no? Ang bigat na kaagad. I don't usually use this in definition. Binibigay ko lang to for the sake of examinations and other tests. But in layman's term, I'd like to define research by the word itself. Research. Re is a prefix, re or re is a prefix which means again, and search is a word that means to look, meaning you have to look again. Alright? So, after looking again on various references, on various data, um, what do you have to do? You have to ask yourself why, how, and what can I do with this information that you have processed. Diba? Next, how to choose a research topic. Ito yung isa sa mga pinaka mahirap pag nilay-nilayan para sa mga bata. Because one of the struggles, ito nang para sa mga teachers na posibleng magturo ng research in the future, pinaka-struggle sa mga research teachers is pigain mo kung ano yung ideas ng mga bata. Because it has to come from them para they are motivated. So, what do I do para ma-extract ko yung information na yun sa kanila? First, I ask them, what problems do you see in your community? So, I ask them to list 3 things. Alam niyo ng mga estudyante ko sa research. I ask them to list down 3 problems that you see in your community. Just to give you examples, yung klase ko before, one of the topics that was approved and they are going to continue it in grade 12 is that one of the problems daw is yung tardiness ng mga bata. Tsaka yung why do men wear earrings? Isa yun sa mga problems nila, sa mga research titles nila. Another one is the effect of child labor in the academic performance of the students. Another one is the prevalence of smoking in yung sa may area ng munisipyo dun sa may area na na-impose ba daw talaga yung smoking ban. Yun. So those are just examples that they see in their community that they wanted to take action. Diba? Third is, another thing that I ask my students is, what topics or issues are you most interested with? Because if it's a problem, yung case kanina, if it's a problem, it has to have a solution. Diba? Kaya kailangan, andun yung sense of urgency. On this second question naman, regarding the topics or issues that they are most interested with, if you are interested kasi sa isang bagay, you are motivated to do it. An example of a topic that was approved with one of the groups in my research class is, ang title ay Trust in Friendship. Ano daw bang mas maganda? Mas naglalas? Yung male-to-male friendship? Is it female-to-male friendship? Or is it female-to-female friendship? Okay? So, those are possible topics that you could do with research. Hindi naman, porket ando yung idea ng bigat na research ay agad scientific tayo. No. Most researches are social in context. Kumbaga, it's about people, it's about the community, and it's about what you are interested in. So, when you choose a research topic, there are these guidelines. Ano dapat ang tandaan? The first one is your interest in the subject matter. Okay? Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina that you have to be intrinsically motivated. You engage in a behavior because it is personally rewarding and not for an external reward. Bakit ka ba ML ng ML? Kasi gusto ko, malakas ako, di ba? Strong ako. Gusto ko, ito na yung level ng aking account, di ba? Intrinsic motivation. On the other hand, extrinsic motivation is towards other people or reward coming in outside, coming from outside. Rather. Second is availability of the information. You have to also consider the availability of information because if you conduct this research, will there be references that is readily available for you? O baka naman kailangan mo pang mag-create ng bagong ideas talaga. There's nothing actually wrong with that. It's just that for high school students, it's not recommended to do it that way. Kasi you have limited time and as well as parang bubot pa, di ba? The idea of doing high school researches is that there is already an existing idea and then you try to validate it. Okay? Para hindi masyadong mabigat yung research para sa inyong mga high school. Third one is timeliness and relevance of the topic. Ano ba yung current issues? Ano ba yung napapanahon na dapat pag-aralan? This is being considered because if the topic is current and timely, most likely marami kang references na makukuha. Like right now, what is the most relevant issue in the society? That is COVID-19. Diba? Kabila yung mga balita about formulating the vaccine. Diba? There are different countries that are trying to create a vaccine. Bakit? That is also a product of research because it will solve an existing problem, not only of your society, but of the whole world. That is very timely and relevant to the topic. But I'm not telling you guys naman na to create a vaccine for COVID-19. Of course, that's something very big, which also gives you the guideline for the fourth, or gives you the fourth guideline in choosing a research topic. Know your limits or limitations of the subject. When it comes to limitations of the subject, when you're an ABM student, mas maganda kung ang research mo is inclined with businesses. Diba? One of the researches that researches na pinropose, I recall, is effective ba daw ang paggamit ng music in a restaurant whenever you are inviting guests. Mas pumupunta ba ang mga kumakain sa restaurant, ang mga tao sa restaurant para kumain kung meron kang malakas na music in front of your store. Okay? So that is one of the researches that is inclined with businesses. Now, if you're an electrical installation and maintenance student, of course, it would be beneficial if your research is inclined to that. Our OAP students, our HE students, I'd like them to become more innovative. Hindi naman sa kinikriticize ko yung mga researchers. Every research is important. It's just that parang in the 3 years ng pagstay ko sa Santa Catalina, the researches that I've seen is always yung siomai, papalitan mo lang ng laman yung loob. It's either kangkong, it's either may tokwa, it's either kung ano-ano. Pero the idea is that in making researches, the idea is to solve a problem and introduce something new. Yes, they have introduced something new, but will that be patok, or will that be beneficial for the community? Um, one thing that I'd like to like the students to pursue is, di ba, isa sa mga problems ng farmers ay yung oversupply. Recently nabalitaan natin na pagdating doon sa may Kalayaan, Laguna area, hindi na nila hina-harvest ang kamatis, or hindi na nila hina-harvest ang talong o ang sitaw kasi mas mahal pa yung iuupa mo dun sa taong magpuputi nung gulay kesa sa amount na bibilhin siya sa palengke. 'Di ba? So bulukin ko na nga lang yan diyan. But what can you do as a research student? What you can do is, instead of letting those vegetables rot or mabulok, think of innovative ways. Paano ba nape-preserve itong mga to? That way, pagka kailangan na siya sa mga susunod na buwan, hindi na magkakaroon pa ng undersupply ng mga gulay. Kasi may panahon na mura ang gulay, may panahon talaga na um, mahal ang gulay at mura ang gulay, di ba? So, one of the innovations in food is yung paggawa ng pickles, di ba? So that is cucumber. Another one is sa kamatis, hinihintay ko may gumawa na estudyante ng mga tomato paste or tomato sauce. Although there are already existing products like that, but with exist with the one that's applicable in the community, wala pa, di ba? So try to innovate projects or researches that will help your community. That is also within your scope of expertise. Okay, and that's guideline. The fifth one is personal resources. Yung kanina yung napanood natin, the student who studied about the Aratiles, she's from Iloilo. She had to fly to Manila, which is malayo, di ba, no? Kailangan niya pumunta ng Manila para pumunta ng FNRI. Ano yung FNRI? They have the laboratories to be able to see the properties ng Aratiles, ano nga bang meron yung content, ano nga bang content meron yung Aratiles that is beneficial for diabetes patients. So I'm not telling you guys to go that way as well. Alright? Hindi ko naman sinasabi na ganun nyo kalawak gawin yung research nyo. But think of the possibilities, okay, in your area. And also with the situation na mayroong COVID-19. Evaluate your personal resources. Kaya ba namin gawin ito? Okay? Before you choose a certain topic. Alright? So those are the 5 guidelines in choosing a research topic. Now, there are also topics that you have to avoid when you choose a research topic. The first one is topics that are too controversial. Masyadong controversial, masyadong maraming nag-uusap tungkol doon. Halimbawa is yung for a historical type of research is yung totoo bang nagnakaw ng hinakaw ng pamilya Marcoses ang kaban ng Pilipinas. So that topic is too controversial. Problem with topics that are too controversial, you tend to be biased in some aspects of it. Diba? So, next is topics that are too vague or masyadong malabo. Vague. Anong example nito? Pag gumamit ka ng mga adjectives na several, some, yung palang mga words na yon, they are no longer specific, di ba? So it does not give you an exact idea of what to research about. So let us avoid those topics. Third one is topics that are highly technical. Masyadong mataas para sa level mo. Kagaya ng example natin kanina, which is COVID-19, di ba? That is highly technical for high school students. Or another example is how to build an aircraft, di ba? That is too technical for you guys. Fourth one is hard to investigate. Um, Again, there are certain limitations when it comes to high school researches. All right? So do not choose topics that will give you a hard time, that you will not be able to finish it in the given time preference for you guys. Topics that are too narrow or too broad, uh, malawak o maliit na yung area of investigation. Problem with topics that are too broad, it would again take you time to research each and everything, di ba? Problem naman with topics that are too narrow, baka wala ka nang makontribute na bagong knowledge in that area because it has already been done. Kasi nga masyadong narrow yung area of research. So those are the topics that you have to avoid when you make or decide your research topic. Okay. Next, so once that you have decided your type of research, your topic of research, um, you identify ano bang klaseng research ang gusto kong gawin. There are different types of researches depending on the classification. Marami yan, depending on the approach, depending on the data needed, depending on the uh, output. So, but the most common ones are these three. First is, this is according to the kind of data needed. The first one is qualitative data or qualitative research rather. The second one is quantitative research. And then the third one is mixed methods or combined methods. Let's go over this one by one. The first one is qualitative research. Ito yung practical research 1 class. Okay? Or mga nanonood sa atin dyan. Qualitative research, from the root word quality, the data that is gathered from this is non-numerical. Okay? It uses words rather than numbers. Data gathered are usually opinionated, which are not measurable, and the way of expressing the findings is through verbal language. Ito ang usual na ginagamit dito na data gathering method is through interviews. Pwede pwedeng phone interview, pwedeng personal interview, pwede rin na survey. However, you use open-ended questions. Okay? Um, Questions na ma-express ng mga uh, respondents mo yung kanilang actual opinion. Alright? Again, when we say qualitative research, it is focused on non-numerical data and it uses words rather than numbers. On the other hand, we have quantitative research, which is from the root word quantity. So we're talking about numerical data or numbers. And then it involves measurement of data. Once you have collected the data, you measure it, and then that's how you interpret it. You use statistical data as the main source of knowledge, and you present it by finding or referring to frequencies of data in numerical forms. Masasabi mo ba na marami talagang mga estudyante ng Santa Catalina ang nalilate? How would you define marami? Because the word marami is too vague. So with quantitative research, you use the exact numbers to define that marami. All right. Last one is mixed methods. So with mixed methods, from the word itself, it's a combination of quantitative and qualitative research. research. Quantitative research, which is focused on experiments, surveys, close-ended questions, plus qualitative research, which are focus groups, interviews. Those are combined together. It uses several means or methods of data collection to examine the same phenomenon. Of course, this has advantages and disadvantages yung mixed methods. Ginagamit siya um, actually sa masteral na sa college na hindi ito masyadong ginagamit kasi it's not recommended. Because imagine using two of the methods. Diba? With mixed methods, it helps you explain findings of how causal processes work. One of the classic example ng quantitative research is when you establish significant relationship or significant difference between two things. Diba? May relasyon ba? Yung example natin kanina, may relasyon ba ang child labor sa academic achievement ng bata? Now, that is an example of a quantitative research. But if you identify how it affects, how child labor affects the academic achievement of the students, and enumerate the possible reasons, that becomes already qualitative research because you gather data from those people na naka-experience ng child labor or who are working students, and then you get their information, their data, their opinions. It's qualitative data, and then if you mix it together, you present it, it becomes mixed methods. All right. Research design can be very complex, resulting to the need for more time and resources to plan and implement. With qualitative data kasi class, laging sinasabi dyan, you have to record. You have to have a transcript, parang pinaka word for word na sinabi nung iyong respondent. You have to list that down or you have to take note of that word for word. That way, you could analyze the existing themes. Ano ba yung pagkakapare-parehas ng mga sagot nila? That way, you could make a conclusion out of it. Alright? So those are the three types of researches depending on the type of data that you need. Qualitative data, qualitative research, quantitative research, and mixed methods. Now, let us proceed with how do you write your research paper. Dito na pumapasok ngayon yung innovation project na ginawa namin ni Ma'am Jenny Rose Ordonez, Mrs. Viñas na ngayon. Okay? Because one of the struggles, the problem with our situation in Santa Catalina is that, di ba, nabanggit ko 3 subjects nga yun. There are chances na iba yung teacher mo ng practical research 1, iba yung teacher mo ng practical research 2, iba yung teacher mo ng 3I. Of course, if you have different teachers, they have different approaches. Because what we do is that yung research paper ng mga Susan is continuous. You start with chapters 1 and 2, yung mga preliminaries sa practical research 1. And then yung sumunod, chapters 3, 4, 5 onwards, ay ginagawa sa practical research 2. And then we're talking here about the output itself. And then the polishing, the presentation, and all is done in 3Is, or the last subject for grade 12. So as a solution, what we did is to create a research manual for students. That way, there is a standard format, a standard way of doing the research for our students. Before we did this, I did a research to check kung meron bang existing na manual na nire-recommend ang DepEd for our students, and I have found none. So this is an innovation that we did in behalf of Santa Catarina to be able to answer an existing problem of the school. Okay? So, ano bang content nitong research manual na ito? First is general formatting. Anong magiging font, anong magiging spacing, anong magiging mechanics and style, anong itsura ng table doon. That is general formatting. Okay? Aside from general formatting, nandyan din yung sections of the research paper. So ito yung classic. We have the preliminary pages, the 5 chapters, yung mga teacher viewers natin dyan. We have, I know you are very familiar with the 5 chapters already because ito yung ginamit ng college, ito yung ginamit ng masteral. No? After the 5 chapters, you have the list of references and the appendices. All right? So with preliminary pages, nandyan yung mga preliminary parts natin. So under preliminary pages, we have the title page, approval sheet, dedication, acknowledgement, abstract, table of contents, list of table and figures. Now, we will not go over this one by one kasi baka walang tayong i-discuss sa mismong practical research 1 at practical research 2. So this is just an overview. And to give an idea na, ma'am, may general format pala akong susundan. So hindi ko na kailangan mag-worry na wala akong guide when it comes to doing a research. Okay? So ito yung tinatawag natin na 5 chapters. The first chapter is the problem and its background. Dyan we discuss how did you come up with the topic, what specific ideas under the topic would you like to study about. And next is chapter 2, which is the review of related literature and studies. So you gather information about topics that have about your topic. These are researches that have been done before. Anong naging resulta ng mga research na yon? Will it be the same with what you're going to uh, uh, find out at the end of your research? So that is chapter 2, review of related literature and studies. The third one is research methodology, how you plan to do your research. Dito na nagkakaiba when it comes to, nabanggit natin kanina yung 3 types of research. Chapter 1 and chapter 2, that's just the same for both types of research, may it be quali, quanti, or mixed method. Nagkakaiba lang siya sa chapter 3 and chapter 4, or the research methodology, wherein kung paano nyo gagawin yung research, the processes. And then the fourth one, chapter 4, is the presentation, interpretation, and analysis of data. So once you have gathered the data, you have conducted your surveys, your questionnaires. This is how you're going to present your data, or where you're going to present your data in chapter 4. So with quantitative data, you're going to use numbers, figures, you're going to use graphs to be able to present the information that you have gathered. On the other hand, if it's a qualitative research, you present the common theme of the answers of your respondents based on the topic that you have chosen to research about. And then lastly, or the last chapter, is chapter 5, which is the summary of findings, conclusions, and recommendations. So with the findings of your study, what could you conclude? And what could you recommend for possibly other researchers or for those who will read your research paper? So after 5 chapters, we have the list of references, which is in APA format. American Psychological Association format, and the list of appendices, which includes the request letter of the conduct of the study, sample questionnaire, data matrix, statistical computation, evidence, curriculum detail. Now, yung mga grade 12 students na nanonood sa atin ngayon, medyo familiar na sila dito. And then, yung mga grade 11 naman, baka medyo jargon pa or hindi pa familiar, hindi mo pa maintindihan. Do not worry, you will come into that moment na maiintindihan mo rin ito. But it's important and that you already have an overview of what you will encounter with practical research in senior high school. Okay? So with that, I do hope I was able to impart knowledge with you guys, give you an overview of what's going to happen with research in senior high school. And with that, I'd like to end this presentation with these quotations. Sabi ni Lao Tzu, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. With your mindset is what separates the best from the rest. So start early and have a positive mindset so that you could be the best among the rest. Because without data, you're just another person with an opinion. That is according to W. Edwards Deming. And that sums up my presentation for this afternoon. Thank you very much for watching.
Okay,
Ma'am
thank
Joy?
you so much, Ma'am Jen, for that very informative about research. So, welcome ko din po yung mga grade 12 natin na nakikinig, nanonood, kasi alam ko meron. So, for sure, nagkaroon na sila ng idea ano ba ang mangyayari kapag meron na silang PR1, PR2 na subject. Okay, so yan po yung ating mga magagaling na teacher ng practical research. Ano. So sabi nga ay huwag tayong masyadong mahirapan dun sa research kasi sabi nga ni Ma'am Lee, again and search to look. So just to look again. Okay? So nabanggit din ni Ma'am yon yung mga topics na kailangan nating paano tayo pipili. So syempre una dapat yung interest mo or yung naging observant ka ba sa paligid mo, ano yung mga problemang nakikita mo, so pwede mong gawa ng research, okay, para magkaroon ng solusyon. And then may mga topics din na kailangang iwasan, okay, so yung medyo controversial, yan, so iwasan yun, and then yung mga mahirap din investigate, yung mga highly technical, masyadong may mga jargon na words, yan, hindi maintindihan, and meron din too broad, too narrow. Okay. So, nabanggit ni Ma'am yung types of research, yung qualitative, quantitative, at saka mixed method. Okay. So, hindi naman ang ating mga estudyante po ay hindi pahihirapan ng ating mga guro. Ano. So, napakabuti nga kasi meron na silang dinevelop na research manual para sa ating mga estudyante, mga incoming natin grade 12. Okay. So, Ma'am Jen, meron po ba tayong mga, Ma'am Jen Rose, meron po ba tayong mga questions para po kay Ma'am? Baka may mga estudyante or may teachers din po na gustong for clarification. So, para mas maintindihan po. Ayan, asan ba? Okay. Asa na po kaya si Ma'am ano. So, pagpasensya na po kung medyo nagiging nagpuputol-putol na po kasi medyo mahina po talaga ang net signal ngayon kahit saan may problema. Garland, sa Mayhay, Liliw, Los Baños. So, medyo tiyaga lang tayo. At least, nakatapos po tayo. Marami tayong natutunan. Okay. Ma'am Jenny Rose. Saka si Ma'am. Teka. Basahin ko, parang may nakita akong question. Ano po, masasalamin lang. Okay. Ayan, ayaw pang mag-load. So, sana yung pong mga estudyante natin, marami ka tayong estudyante na nanonood po. Nawala na si ma'am. Ma'am Jen? Nawala na. Ayan, medyo nawala na nga po yata. So, nagpapasalamat po kami sa lahat ng teachers po na nag-standby. Aming principal sa patuloy po na pag-support para po sa Thursday tutorial. Okay. Ayan po, so may question, kaya lang parang nawala si Ma'am Ke. So, among the 3 types of research, ano ang pinaka-recommended nyo po for high school students? Nawala naman po yata si Ma'am Ke.
Hello.
Ayan.
Ayan. Ang hina ng connection, ang hirap ng connection.
Oo nga. Yan, ma'am. Nakita mo na ba yung question? May question po. Na among the 3 types of research, ano ang pinaka-recommended nyo for high school students?
Alright. For among those 3 types of research na banggit nga natin kanina, qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods, para sa akin, ang pinaka-nire-recommend ko ay quantitative research. For those, for our students, kasi alam naman natin, not everybody could be very much fluent in expressing their ideas in English because our mode of writing the research paper is in English, in straight English. No, so if you're going to conduct a qualitative research, it uses a lot of words, diba? So it's not if you are not very much fluent in expressing yourself in English, might as well opt in in doing a quantitative research, which is mas madali kasi may mga graph, may mga numbers, and then interpret mo lang. I believe that's more suitable for our high school students.
Okay. So, thank you, ma'am. So, yun po, quantitative. Kasi, mas pag nakikita ng bata, kasi nagpa-panel din po ako sa pag-presentation ng mga bata sa kanilang, lalo na po pag HE kasi, so yung product development, so ilang ba yung, ilang percent ba yung acceptable yung lasa ng bagong yung dinevelop nila. So, isang nagustuhan ko din yun, hindi ko makalimutan, it's yung embutido na saha. Yan. So, parang last batch yata yun. So, makikita mo rin na yung mga bata talaga matatalino kasi naisip nila yung gawan ng panibagong improvement o innovation yung ating mga pagkain existing na. No? So, gayon din ma'am, yung sa gas students naman, at saka ADM, marirealize mo din na yun, napapansin nila, so talagang kailangan lang nilang maging observant no, para magkaroon ng solusyon yung nakikita nilang problema. So, action research din talaga yung iba na ginagawa. Pero ito, syempre, para sa student natin, kasi we need to develop their skills, di ba ma'am? Yung preparation para sa college na rin po. Ano. Meron po bang question pa? Ayan. So, another question po from via Messenger. Ano po kaya ang biggest challenge para sa mga researchers dito sa Pilipinas? Ayan. Ma'am Ke? Ma'am?
Ayan. Isa sa mga biggest challenge siguro. Yes, ma'am?
Ayan. O, sige ma'am, okay po.
Rinig po ba ako?
Okay po.
Rinig po ba?
Yes, ma'am, yes.
Rinig po ba ako, ma'am? Okay. Yun. Isa sa mga biggest challenge siguro ng mga researchers, not only student researchers, but also yung kahit yung mga kagaya natin na mga educators, yung mga grown-ups na mga matatanda na nag-pursue din ng research. One of the challenge is probably yung support, lalo na financially. Imagine if you would make something as revolutionary as yung gaya ng ginawa ng mga bata doon na pampatuyo ng palay, di ba? to be able to produce a prototype, you have to have the resources. And to reproduce it into something na in a bigger scale, na maging kapaki-pakinabang para sa community, it takes budget, di ba? That is the struggle for researchers in the Philippines, para sa akin. Another struggle siguro in a smaller scale is the yung continuous na pagbaba ng in the aspect of students naman to ha. Pababa kasi ng, whether we admit it or not, pababa kasi ng pababa yung comprehension level ng mga estudyante. And if your comprehension is not good, how are you going to evaluate yung mga previous researches? Paano mo magagawang intindihin yung mga review of related literature na sinulat ng mga other researchers? That way you could apply it with your own research kung mahina ang iyong reading comprehension. So I think that's one of the areas that the students have to improve on themselves to be able to have a successful research paper.
Ayan. So, sana po nasagot. So, tama naman talaga yun. Na unang-una, financial. Ayan. Saan ba kukuha? Kasi research is a continuous eh. Hindi naman pwedeng step 1 ka pa lang, di ba? So, talagang medyo mahaba-habang maraming steps ang gagawin para to come up yung sa solution mo, sa conclusion mo. Okay? So, maganda rin sana talaga merong partnership. So, katulad ng pinakita niyong video kanina, partner with the Gokong Way. So, siguro nag-support ang Gokong Way ng, of course, financially para matuloy yung project. Okay? So, sana nga ganun talaga makahanap din tayo ng mag-finance para sa ating school, para sa research. Ano po. And then, yun din yung comprehension. Oo. So, yun din comprehension. So, talagang kailangan unawahin. Kailangan medyo tumaas yung level of thinking ng ating mga mag-aaral. So, it's a challenge for incoming grade 12 students natin na patunayan nila na makakagawa din sila ng research to address or to give solution sa isang problema. Okay. Ma'am, may question pa from Ma'am EA. Nababasa niyo ba, Ma'am Ke? So, sabi
Yes
po
po,
dito,
yes po.
aside from research on how excess harvest should be addressed, what other topics ang pwedeng i-recommend para sa senior high school students na pwede nilang i-focus sa study?
I-focus sa study. Yung nabanggit ko kanina regarding excess harvest, that's just one of the basic problems kasi in the community. And that is more of on the HE level kasi, or pwede rin sa OAP, ganyan. Possibly, one of the topics na nakikita kong pwedeng i-undertake ng mga OAP students is, hindi kasi masyadong familiar sa mga OAP topics, pero the propagation of products or vegetable harvests na mas kikita siguro yung ating mga farmers. Kasi di ba there are vegetables na mamahalin, merong vegetables na mumurahin, and also the practice of organic farming. Kasi if the produce is organic, it becomes more expensive, di ba? And also, ang aking baby na sorry.
Okay, siguro ma'am, additional din doon sa sinabi mo, siguro yung sa food processing din. Kasi tama ka talaga namang more on ang kadugtong kasi ng OAP is food processing. Kasi kung ano yung excess sa garden, talagang para hindi masayang, kailangan i-food process. So, it should be on by freezing, by sun drying, or by pickling. Mas maganda po talaga yon. So, katulad din nung yun yung nabanggit ko nung nag-speak din ako, na yung kung nakikita niyo po sa news, yung mga kamatis sa Kalayaan, di ba, tinatapo na lang yung mga kamatis sa sobrang dami ng produce. Okay? So, sayang kasi gaano katagal inalagaan ng mga farmers natin yung tomato. So, kung sana natuturuan din yung ating mga farmers on how to do the food processing, hindi nasasayang, di ba? So, that's part of research din. That's a research din also na ano bang gagawin? Kasi problema yon, overproduction. So, anong gagawing solution para kung mag-overproduction, may next step na gagawin para hindi masayang yung na-produce ng ating mga farmers. Okay? So, ma'am, may question po dito. From TJ Estera, a student po. Kadalasan, nakikita ko po ang aking kapwa mag-aaral na hindi nagpapakita ng interest to pursue their research. How will you motivate them to continue their research? Yan po, paano daw natin ma-motivate yung ating mga estudyante?
Mahirap yan. Motivation. Nabanggit ko kanina, the best motivation that you could have is intrinsic, pang sarili. Ano bang mapapala ako dito, di ba? Kaya unang-una sa reasons na binanggit ko kanina is because it's a 3 subject requirement, di ba? But aside from that, hindi kasi enough ngayon na i-motivate mo yung estudyante just because they have to do it. They have no other choice but to do it. But another way of motivating siguro yung mga students natin is again by undertaking topics that you are interested with. 'Di ba? Pagka kasi interesado ka sa isang topic, you are very much you have that drive to pursue it, 'di ba? Kung kagaya nung research kanina nung bata about Aratiles, sabi niya it's been a problem in their family. Marami daw namatay sa pamilya nila because of diabetes. They have a history of it. That's why her motivation is to contribute something to the solution to the problem, 'di ba? So yun yung pinaka madaling paraan siguro para ma-motivate mo yung mga kapwa mo estudyante. And also, siguro may mga estudyante din na hindi mo na sila ma-motivate kasi hindi lang siguro sila sa research hindi motivated, kundi sa pag-aaral mismo. May mga estudyante kasing ganun. So the motivation has to come from within them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yan, tama yun, ma'am. So, yun nga, nabanggit ni ma'am kanina na talagang dapat intrinsic motivation. Sa kanila mismo muna manggagaling at saka napakahalaga yung pagpili ng topic na ano ba talaga yung kuha ng interest ko para magpatuloy ka ng matapos yung research. So, TJ, Estera, so sana nasagot ni Ma'am Kay yung question mo at sana nakatulong sa mga estudyante rin na pagpipili na kayo ng topic nyo, yung talagang interesado kayo. Okay? Para matapos nyo ang inyong research. Okay, ma'am, eto pa po, from Lorraine Urizam. Congratulations, Ma'am Kay. Your presentation drew the audience in and held their attention for hours. There was never a dull moment. You were witty and it is indeed very informative. Yan. Thank you, Ma'am Lorraine. Ma'am Kay.
Thank you, Ma'am Rain.
Ayan. So,
salamat po. Salamat.
So, meron pa po ba? So, ayan, talaga pong ang research ay marami pong natatakot na pag-usapan ng research kasi ay napang hirap niyan, ano? Pero kung on a lighter mode, talagang makikita natin na napakahalaga ng research, no? Para mabigyan po ng solusyon yung mga problemang nakikita natin sa community, within the family, okay? So, akala lang natin basta research lang yon, ano? Pero talagang kapag nagawa po natapos ng maayos yun, maganda ang makikitang solution po doon sa research o magkaroon ng solution. Sir RD, ayan, baka po may willing mag-sponsor for research. Baka po daw may gusto mag-sponsor sa mga nakikinig. I very much willing po Sir RD na gumawa ng research. Kasamke. Ayan, so wala na po bang question? Okay, so i-recap ko lang po. So mula po dun sa first topic namin ng Thursday tutorial, yung SF Made Easy, yun po ay resulta din po ng action research ni Sir Michael. Kasi unang problema po ng teachers, doble-doble yung aming ini-encode na grade. So ngayon po, isang encode lang, lahat yun papalo na sa aming mga forms. Ayan, hindi po katulad ng dati, ang dami namin kaya encode. Okay, so yung SF Made Easy, it's a result of action research din po. Yan. And then the second topic naman po by Ma'am Abat is gardening. So talagang ito po ay gamit na gamit natin, okay? Lalo na po yung mahilig magtanim, okay? Lalo na po ngayong panahon ng pandemic. And then the third one po, yung aking topic is plant-based diet. So kailangan natin maging healthy para labanan ng COVID-19, okay? And then the fourth po ay yung how to start a business with Ma'am Directo. So maraming nawalan ng trabaho, baka may mga naipon sila, so pwede po mag-start ng business. At ito po bilang paghahanda para sa although na move ang pasukan, ang school opening, ay paghahanda para sa ating mga mag-aaral on about research. Okay, so talaga pong ang aming Thursday tutorial ay marami pong naibigay na topic sa inyo at sana po ay nakatulong ng lubusan mula po sa teacher, para po sa teachers, sa parents, sa student, ano po. So, meron pa po ba?
I believe that wraps up our today's activity. Ma'am Joy, maraming salamat yung tutorial Thursday, and have a pleasant afternoon to each and everyone.
Oh, Ma'am Ke, may last words ka pa po ba? Ma'am Jen? Delay. Ma'am Jen?
Yan, ma'am. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng nanood. Hello po.
Okay, ma'am. Rinig ka.
Hello po.
Ay, rinig ka, ma'am. Rinig ka, ma'am. Rinig.
Okay. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng nanood sa ating tutorial Thursday. Hello po.
Rinig ka, ma'am.
Nakakatawa ang ating internet connection ngayong hapon na ito. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng nanood, tumuto, sa mga co-teachers, sa mga estudyante. We will see each other soonest, I hope, para magkakonekta na tayo. Ano po, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat ng pagbati. Nawa ay marami kayong natutunan. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Ke. Okay, so meron po tayong post-evaluation para po kayo ay makareceive ng inyong certificate. So, ipopost na lang po ni Ma'am Jenny Rose Viñas ang ating post-evaluation. So, pasagutan na lamang po ito para po sa inyong, it will serve as attendance din po. Ano? So, once again po, para po mula po sa Santa Catalina Integrated National High School, nagpapasalamat po kami sa inyong walang sawang pagsuporta, panonood mula session 1 hanggang session 5. Maraming salamat po sa aming principal, sa technical working group po. Thank you so much din po. At sa lahat po ng nanood, at patuloy po tayong magpalakas ng ating kalusugan para po tayo hindi dapuan ng COVID-19 or ng anumang pong sakit. So tayo po ay patuloy na mag-iingat at patuloy po tayong magtiwala sa Panginoon. God bless us all po. Thank you so much po. Bye!